So, Ignited is back, without Kwanza Sejefo. That's right, Fake Holiday is no more. Lacio Johnson has moved on, or been moved. It's really not clear. I'm gonna assume he willingly left the book, because to be fired from your own title is really sad. On the plus side, the book is now competently written. Say whatever you will about King Baby Mark Waid, the man is a good writer. And even though he's definitely phoning it in with this book, his half-assed writing is still light years better than Kwanza's best. I mean, the book is still a mess. It's still a bunch of woke nonsense. But at least it doesn't read like it was written by a 12-year-old edgelord who just discovered racism is a bad thing. Now the book is written by a bald, try-hard daddy man long bereft of sincerity and decency. The book was delayed for most of 2020 because of the Wu flu. Issue 9 was meant to come out in September, but ended up coming out this January along with issue 10. That pretty much shows the impact the virus had on the indies. As usual, the book begins with lies, but before we get that, can we talk about this cover? These are the faces of the children who will murder you in your sleep. This is a bad cover, just creepy for no reason. I mean, it accurately depicts the cold indifference they'd have when they killed you, but a cover is supposed to get people to buy the book, not make them pray Freddy Krueger gets them first. Anyway, issue 9 starts with lies, again. For those new to this story, the premise is that one day there was a school shooting at a Phoenix high school, and in the middle of the shooting some kids developed powers. About a year later, the school reopens, and the kids decide to use their powers to stop the faculty from carrying guns. Eventually, there's a protest at the school between pro-gun and anti-gun activists. The psychotic Antifa wannabes decide that the best course of action would be to show up and use their powers to attack the pro-gun side. Afterwards, they're hunted by the feds, wind up getting caught, and then escaping with the help of one of the kids' cop mob. The story left off with the Antifa wannabes on the run looking for Dr. Zhao, this woman they keep having flashes of in their memory. They think she's done something to their minds and had something to do with their powers, so they go looking for her. This entire time, the Antifa wannabes have been nothing more than terrorists, first attacking the school staff, then the protesters, then the shock jock who criticized them along with other random people they just don't like. That's what actually happened, and you can check out my previous videos for the series as proof. These are terrorists. But Mark Waid decides to paint them as heroic, saying, quote, "Some call them heroes. No one calls them heroes. Others, terrorists." He's talking about me and your boy Zach. What we do know is that they were all students of Phoenix Academy High School, the site of the mass shooting last year. Originally hiding behind masks, the children used mysterious superhuman abilities to openly rebel. That's a funny way of saying attacked unprovoked, because that's exactly what happened. At no point did any of these little terrorists have any reason to use their powers against anyone. They did it unprovoked. Or, as Waid says, first against the proposed arming of teachers, by having the GIMP poison every teacher and faculty member because they didn't reject the proposal of arming the staff. The GIMP can heal and sicken people, and he chose to attack every member of the staff for not going along with his demands. Keep in mind, this was 1 year after the same staff survived the school shooting. And to make it more believable, Waid and Kwanza had the students cheering the poisoning of their teachers. So heroic. But let's continue. Then, to disrupt a protest that pitted pro-gun control legislation locals against Second Amendment defenders. No. I don't know what that mess of words was supposed to be, but the correct term is anti-gun activist. You're not good at semantics, Waid. Stop it. But maybe he did that to brush over the pesky little fact that these Antifa wannabes showed up at a peaceful rally and randomly attacked the pro-gun activists. There's no way to spin it to be anything other than a bunch of superpowered terrorists attacking innocent people because those people want to own guns. And because both Fake Holiday and King Baby are douchebag progressives, we can surmise that the opinions expressed by these terrorists are shared by the writers. That would at least explain the bizarre idea that a bunch of kids who survived the school shooting would be cool with superpowered teens randomly attacking their teachers and others who didn't bend to their wills. So now, having attacked enough people and committed enough acts of domestic terrorism to spark government interest, these losers are on the run. And we're meant to feel sorry for them having to struggle. Let's see if I can struggle to shed a tear. Nope. Now, here's where we get the difference that a good writer versus a bad writer makes. Waid, even though he's a complete asshole, is still a good writer, and a good writer wants characters who have depth. They can't just act, they need a reason to act. This helps readers to understand why this person is the way they are. With Kwanza off the book, Waid can actually do that. Kwanza wouldn't know how to write a character if you literally had one of the best comic book writers working on the book with him, which he did. Now that Waid's alone, he tries to give these little psychos some depth, but because he's a douchebag progressive, he really doesn't make it any better. Anouk tries to talk to Marisol to find out how Marisol got her powers. You may recall that Marisol is a hot-headed illegal immigrant because Waid and Kwanza are racist. Marisol's codename was Terror, Terror, which is of course exactly what a normal person would call themselves. Anyway, we find out that she discovered her powers while some boys were trying to rape her because, and I swear to you this is a reason from the book, she pissed off the boys, so they went after her cousin, the cops got involved, one of the boys went to jail, so his friends decided to beat her up and try to rape her. Oddly enough, the guy on top is Hispanic, so touche, Mark Waid. Touche. This apparently happened in the woods, in Arizona, with no clear idea how far away or near to the school these woods are, but apparently they were close enough for Marisol to hear the shooter, which triggered her powers. And then she kills the boys. We get this confirmed later in the story, but it's implied in the scene, specifically when the nuke asks what happens to them and Marisol brushes her off. Now, I'm not saying stuff like this can't happen, it's just that everything we've seen about Marisol shows that she's a bitch. She's an unlikable, arrogant, aggressive bitch. She picks fights with people over nothing, so to try to make it seem like she was a victim without any context for what happened is really pushing it. Obviously no one deserves to be assaulted. However, this is a person we know is randomly violent towards anyone. You can't just try to make her out to be a victim after we watched her target, attack, and probably kill about a dozen people for 6 issues. Just doesn't work. Don't take my word for it. Ask Neil Druckmann. And because Waid just loves being literal, he decides to write George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin into the story. Oh, I'm not kidding. The Antifa wannabes stumble onto some news about Bennett Furlong, the quote, white asshole who killed Jamal Evans because he was pretending to be Neighborhood Watch and saw Jamal cut through someone's backyard. He called the cops, but then decided to confront Jamal instead, and claimed he mistook the M&Ms the boy was holding for a gun. Jamal fought back and ran, so Furlong shot him in the back. He was acquitted because of the quote, magic combo of stand your ground laws and a mayonnaise colored jury. That's racist. It's also lazy, predictable, and pointless. The kids already have a reason not to like guns, the school shooting. You don't have to put in this phony Black Lives Matter bullshit to have an excuse to have the kids show up at a gun show to try to murder this man. They've already gone to gun shows to intimidate people. This is nothing new. I wasn't a fan of what happened with Zimmerman either, and I'm glad Trayvon whooped his ass before the fucking coward shot him. Even the guy who trained Zimmerman said he was a pussy with a gun. But you don't need this in your story because you're trying to show how these kids are just innocent heroes. Now you have them reframing a crime in a way that will justify in their eyes, ignoring the decision made by a jury to exact revenge for something they probably know nothing about. There's nothing heroic going after someone years later and just assaulting them, and as we're going to see, these little would-be heroes immediately think they should target everyone at the show. They want to burn the whole place down, presumably with people still inside, for simply going to legally buy guns. And to prove how much they're better people, they find Benny, chase him outside, beat him in the head with a pack of M&Ms, and then the gimp gives him malaria so he can say this. Aw, you scared? No weapon, minding your own business, and now somebody powerful gets in your fucking face. Now you know how it feels. Except he doesn't, because he wasn't wandering through someone's backyard in the middle of the night. You didn't call the cops on him. You didn't question him about what he was doing. He didn't attack you in self-defense, and you didn't attack him while his back was turned. Instead, you went to a public location, chased him out of it, and then gave him a fatal disease because you didn't like that he got acquitted. If you're trying to make him sound like a bad guy for what he did, you're an even worse bad guy because you actually are powerful and you're purposefully seeking out someone weaker to hurt and kill. Nothing happening here is heroic, but that's how we're meant to take this moment, that the Gimp is serving up justice. And we know this because Marisol jumps in to stop him by saying, this asshole's a fucking monster, and the world ain't one bit better with him in it. Go ahead. He straight up murdered that kid. What claim does he have to his own life? You're justified. But you kill him, his pathetic ass face is gonna haunt your dreams every single fucking night. Cause you had the power to walk away, but you didn't. Every fucking night. Right. So they're evil. These kids are evil. There's no other way to describe that. The moment you think you have the right to decide whose life has value and whose doesn't, who should live and who should die, you become evil. Many who live deserve death. Some who die deserve life. Can you give it to them? Then don't be so quick to deal out death and judgment, for even the wise can't see all ends. If the only thing that makes you stay your hand is how bad it would be for you to kill this person, you're evil. You are the most base level of humanity, the most uncivilized, the most dangerous, the most untrustworthy, the literal antithesis of heroic. And these are the people we're supposed to be rooting for. These are the protagonists of the story. There is nothing, literally nothing likable about these characters. At every turn in this series, whenever they can make the wrong decision, they go with the most wrong. And whenever they hold back, it's driven by pure selfishness, never a concern for another person. I know Mark Waid thinks these domestic terrorists are good in his warped progressive mind, but those of us with functioning brains understand there's nothing good about these people. Look at a character like John Wick. He's a cold-blooded killer so vicious and determined in his cruelty that when someone steals his car and kills his dog, the dude's father's like, "Yeah, you're fucked. It was nice having a son for a while though. Be seeing you." There's no redeeming quality about John Wick other than the fact that he wants to change and that he doesn't kill or hurt innocent people. Just that little bit is enough for us to justify rooting for him, even though he breaks all the rules and even subjects someone to the very thing he complained about days after it happened to him. The man is a walking contradiction, but we still root for him because we can see there is some humanity in their struggling to stay alive. There's none of that in Ignited. Not a strip, and not a clipped fingernail, not a cell. Nothing remotely human or humane in any of these characters, which is why when it turns out that Vinny is just bait for Dr. Zhao to trap him, I'm like, oh thank God. This book is still terrible. It still makes absolutely no sense why any of this is happening the way it does, but at least it's better written. Kwanza isn't missed, but Waid isn't welcome either. This is such a hateful book. It's motivated by hate, written with hate, and causes nothing but hate. I read it so you don't have to, and so I can make more money off this book than Mark Waid. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.